He just died laughing. And I said, you know what? There's going to be a day when you are in your 40s, married with children.
You no longer believe in hustle culture. And
you don't believe in hustle culture. And you have the glass food storage containers. And I said, text me that day and tell me the joy you are feeling, because it will be the same as the level I am feeling today.
Okay.
Leaders from Asheville and Buncombe County held
From the newsroom to the nursery.
We're juggling a demanding career on live TV with the demands of motherhood.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karen.
They are AnchorMoms.
Oh, like 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, Katie.
Hey, Karen.
How are you? Listen, welcome into AnchorMoms, everybody listening or watching from home. We are coming off the heels of some snow days here, and it has been tough. It has been real tough for me to like maintain the household. And I think about people in the north. I don't know. I know they have less snow days because they don't cancel school for 1 inch like we do here. But I also think, like, are they struggling as much as we are?
I don't think, as someone who grew up in the north, I don't know that they have fewer snow days. I think it just takes a lot more to have a snow day, if that makes sense. And yes, I think they are. I think that every single parent is struggling out there. It doesn't matter where you live. Yeah.
I have to assume that even in the states that get more weather and have, more serious snow, they still do remote learning now. I mean, this is a whole country thing that we do a remote learning day when school's out because of COVID.
I don't know if they do. I'm assuming some do. I mean, even here in Western North Carolina, there's a school district, Henderson County, a school district right to our south here in Asheville, who they had a couple of snow days. And then I think this week they've turned to remote days. So I think it just depends on what school district you are, where you're landing. So if for some reason you're listening in a place that doesn't have remote school days or virtual learning days, I think it varies depending on school district. But basically the gist is you have some school work to do at home. It's not just, hey, take the day off. And at least at Rivers School, then that does not count. You don't have to make up the snow day. So that's the reason that they do it. Yeah.
And then you, at least for our school system, you are counted present for the day if you turn in your remote learning work.
Sure.
Otherwise you're counted absent. But our kids have these like choice boards, and there's each of the 5 subjects, and they can pick an activity, But we have had a couple of snow days where they canceled school for weather, but there really was no weather, which of course is always frustrating. And then we've had a couple of, I guess you'd call them snow day. We got about a couple of inches. And school was canceled both on Friday and Monday. So it was a 4-day weekend. And it just felt, I mean, all of the activities, all of the movies, the dance parties, Greg and I were both like, we're out. We're out. What do we do now? We can't leave our driveway. We can't get out because there's ice on our driveway, and we're literally losing our minds, I think.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think even a bigger point of that is if you still have to go to work, from a parent perspective,
right,
that is really difficult. That's been kind of the challenging part for Brian and I. We have a wonderful nanny, but of course we do not want her to drive
in the weather
either. So it just becomes this conundrum the whole way around. Like you need childcare, especially in broadcast news, like TV news. I can't just say, because, obviously snow here in Asheville is a big story, and it impacts ratings, especially on the morning show when people are watching and trying to figure out, can they go to work? Should we have school? So anyway, that is what has been challenging for us, is just how do you piece together childcare for all of that? In fact, I posted to Instagram last week. I think we did an AnchorMoms post as well. Like and I hate to complain because I did grow up in Pennsylvania where, I mean, it was literally winter from October to April. So I've certainly, now that I live here in the South, I know I sound very soft. But it has been like unreasonably cold here in Asheville, like teens and 20s. River missed 2 days last week, a delay this week. So piecing all of that together, we've been like talking about this winter storm like ad nauseum at work because, of course, it takes a lot of resources here at work just to like cover it. Are we covering all our bases? Yeah, I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. I'm over January. I'm over January. And I feel like River has really, and this is through no fault of really anyone, but like between the weeks that she missed for Helene and then a really long Christmas break. And then we went back to school and it's just been like delays and snow days. Like, I'm like, what? I'm always impressed that she can do her homework and her remote learning or, her remote schoolwork. Cause I'm like, oh, good. You are learning. Like you have retained something here because, I feel as though you really haven't been in school. It's a lot.
Yeah. I know we've been trying to split up the days and like I'll go into work for a couple hours and then come home and Gregory will try to get work done. And gosh, it's tough. It's really just tough. I don't know. I don't know how much more winter I can take.
Well, I mean, the good news is I feel like I need to knock on wood here. I mean, this is very brief. I only know this because I've been working a morning show for a long time here in Asheville, and I can look back at my previous posts. It's usually January, and by February, daffodils are coming up here. Yeah. Like, it's going to be okay.
I do remember last year saying, it feels like this is the coldest January ever. We need to get out of this. And we didn't get really any snow last year. So yes, good reminder that soon we will be back at the pool.
Yes.
And then we'll have summer where our children are once again out of school.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's the unexpected as well. On Sunday evening, we said, there's no way school's going to be canceled tomorrow. There's no way. They're definitely going to go back. Life will be back to normal. Everything will be fine. We'll catch up on work. And then literally maybe 5 minutes later, our phones rang. And I was like, oh, that's the school system.
I know.
Here we go. Here we go.
And
Buckle up.
I will say this because I do think sometimes people are like, what do you mean? There's nothing out there, And when I remember my first TV job was in Virginia and I was shocked when they started canceling school for like an inch of snow. Like I was literally like, what? And I think I offended some people, to be totally honest. And now that I've lived in the South for this long, and I say the South because sometimes I don't like necessarily think of like Asheville's obviously not the deep South, but now that I live further south, these school systems are big school systems. We're in the mountains. They don't have the DOT budget that they do up north. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the salt. They don't have the trucks. So I do think these school systems are doing the best they can, and they have to play it safe. But as someone who lives, I mean, you and I both live in the city of Asheville where, we don't have like these back roads. Like it is a head scratcher sometimes. It's a head scratcher.
I will say though, to your point, working in TV news for so long and covering this issue for so long, it takes one, we didn't cancel and there was one sketchy road and a bus slid off and, that, and then everybody's complaining, why in the world would they have sent them? You know what I mean? So I do totally understand that these poor school systems are caught in a tough place because, heaven forbid you do go and something happens, you'd never hear the end of it. Anyway, that being said, if we have any power over the local school systems, please don't cancel ever again.
I'm sure they're taking notes. Yes. They listen to AnchorMoms religiously and they're like, okay, yep.
And that parents, all parents deal with this, but I will say it is so tricky and it really makes you think, no wonder, marriages used to have one person at home not working.
Yeah.
It just makes a lot of sense.
In some regards, you were right about that. Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
back. They're back in
It's
school
okay.
today.
It's now the middle of January. There can't be that many more. There can't be. I'm
Watch,
knocking on
we'll have
wood.
like a huge
I'm knocking
blizzard
on
next
wood.
week.
I know. There can't be that many more snow days, right? I don't know.
I
Okay.
mean, my poor children cannot do any more remote learning board choices.
There's no choices for River. They send home a packet sort of
Oh,
at
see,
the
I'd
beginning
almost
of the
rather
year.
that because the choices are like then every time they're like, well, I don't really want to do this one. I've already done this one, and
It's just a packet. And it's like snow day 1 packet, snow day 2 packet, which
Mm.
there ain't no choices around here. Like
Mhm.
just
Get it
do
done.
Just
Get it done.
do it.
Well, the other day, I think it was yesterday, one of my kids was like, this is just dumb at this point. And I really wanted to be like, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like, we're just going to do this again. This seems silly. And I'm like,
Yep.
We're like doing a sit-ups challenge. All the kids are
Oh.
like seeing how many sit-ups they can do in a
Oh,
minute.
I love it. That's part of the score?
Yeah. There's
Are there,
there's
like-
a PE column. There's a music column.
Really?
Oh, Bennett made up
PE
a song about friendship and love.
Oh.
Yeah. There's
I
lots
think this
of
is
things
these snow
happening.
days are really bringing out their creativity.
Mhm. And
A
also
sit-up
their
challenge.
frustration.
Like, girl, I need to come over and like this
I
sounds
know.
more like remote learning to me. This is like
Well, it was
meanwhile we're
funny.
doing like math problems. Like I'm like,
I mean, we've got
okay.
those too. But Henry was seeing how many sit-ups he could do in a minute, and then I was like, "Well, wait a minute. Let me see how many I can do."
That's
Like,
what Brian and I do.
let's,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
squeeze in our own
Hold on.
workouts
Let
here.
me see. Let me challenge myself. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, our first article comes from Bay to Bay News, and the title is Hustle Culture is History, Well-Being is the New Workplace Trend to Watch. The article goes on to say, for years, the rise and grind ethos of hustle culture reigned supreme, glorifying relentless productivity, sleepless nights, and the idea that success meant squeezing every second of your day for work. But this is not surprising. Gen Z is not feeling this, and they're sort of pivoting away from sort of that idea in the workplace. And I can say this was me in my first couple of years at work. Do you know, and sometimes I look back on this, I might have shared this before on the podcast, I missed my grandmother's wake because of work. Yeah. I missed it was my first I was working right here at News 13 at WLOS. This wasn't my boss's fault at the time, by the way. It was my fault. I really wanted to anchor, and there was the weekend evening anchor had off, and she called me and she was like, do you want to anchor Saturday night? But my grandmother's viewing was on Sunday in Pennsylvania. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I anchored Saturday night, like the 6 and the 11 o'clock news, drove to Charlotte because I had to fly, obviously. Stayed up all night because my flight was like at 6. It was like a layover. I got stuck in Newark for hours on the lay, like trying to get into Pittsburgh, and missed the wake so that I could anchor a Saturday night newscast. Like, you want to say, I don't know, 25-year-old Katie, 26. Like, why?
What are you doing?
What was I doing?
You know, I could tell the same
What was I
story.
doing?
I mean, I did the same thing. And it's funny that you mentioned it wasn't your boss's fault at the time. I remember literally saying, same thing. I'll pick up any shift. I'll work late. I'll stay over. You know, you want overtime because you're not making any money. You want to get that resume reel.
It's wild.
To really be slamming. You do anything you can. Anything. Yeah.
I would fight with the other reporters in my first job for, not like,
real fighting.
Not real fighting, but, we would get aggressive about who was going to cover what stories, because even though they were a lot of work, but because you were like hungry for it. Yeah.
And I do think that we both definitely had that and early in our careers. I wonder how much was TV news as an industry and how much was our personalities, our generation, the way we were raised. I do think I have a lot of friends who are not in TV news who I think did the same thing and worked really hard and probably got burnt out. It's very interesting to me. And this article talks about how cracks started showing in the facade, though, before the pandemic in this hustle culture. And then the pandemic really kind of shifted things because then all of a sudden people are working from home and then everything changes a bit. And then after the pandemic, I feel like there was a little bit of a realigning of like, okay, well, now if I do have to go back to work, what does that mean? And what about this balance I'd kind of created in my life? I think that the work from home option has really changed things. It talks about this. It comes up in this article. Talks about mental health first, about how on social media there's such a big push now to make sure that your mental health is in check and that you're doing okay. Talks about passion over paychecks. There's a lot to unpack here in terms of how that hustle culture, why that came to be, and also how it's unraveled and where we go from here. I think, honestly, if you'd asked me a couple years ago, I would probably have said the next generation's just doesn't work as hard as we have, kind of that kids today, they don't know what the hard work they have to put in that we did.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another part of me now that feels like that's maybe wrong. Maybe we shouldn't have been pushing ourselves so hard. Maybe the next generation is onto something and is realizing at an earlier age that that's not worth it.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. I also think the pandemic, people died, lost their lives. I have acquaintances who died of COVID. I have one of my good friends, her father-in-law died of COVID. I think that people realized aside from the fact that people realized how nice it was to work from home, I think people realized their mortality and that like you only have this one life and life is precious. People are dying. People are really sick. A random pandemic that nobody saw coming like upended our way of life. And now I don't want to spend my whole entire life working.
Right.
And that's, I appreciate that. And I understand that. And I think in some ways I'm kind of like joke's on us because I really squandered a lot of my time and energy in my 20s and 30s, truly. And now it's kind of like, I'm happy to be at work, but work is not going to be my end all be all. It just can't.
I do think, I would say though, I don't think we squandered it, or I don't think I squandered it. I think I worked really hard. I still do. I love my job. I loved my job then. Things have changed, obviously, but I really, really loved what I was doing. And I think through the successes and failures and ups and downs, I don't think hard work, especially in something that you love, is ever lost. I think that was something that was supposed to happen, was what was needed to create the person I am today. So I don't necessarily regret that. I do wonder if I had it to do over again, would I do it the same way?
I feel like I made a lot of sacrifices that like I said, missing my grandmother's viewing. Now both my parents have passed. And I think all of those Christmases and Thanksgivings that I signed up to Anchor, I just am kind of, I think I would do some of it differently. Would I have worked less hard or not as hard? I don't know about that because sometimes I think, I might even be in the same position I am here today. Here I am.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you hadn't have anchored that Saturday night show, you'd probably still be here today.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I just sort of wonder, I don't know if some of those sacrifices, and I'm not saying I regret working hard, but I don't know. I think when you're in your 20s, your early 30s, like you don't realize how precious, like time is your biggest commodity. And I spent a lot of time working away from my family, not spending holidays with people, sacrificing my health in some ways. Like I just sort of wish I would have sort of realized that this is not going, like work is going to be awesome, but it is not going to be the most fulfilling thing. And once you've reached some sort of pinnacle, it's not, you're not going to feel complete,
I think but I think that's why things are changing, right? I think that's why this next generation is saying we're going to do things differently. I also think that there is no way to tell your 23-year-old
Right.
self those things. You know, I remember at the time thinking, there may be a day that I have a husband and kids and things look different, but you can't even picture that. It's just too far away at the moment.
Yeah.
I remember the day, this is slightly off topic, but I remember when I was that age, working as hard as I possibly could work in TV news, thinking, and everyone always used to say to me, you look too young. You don't look, you know, as a journalist, and especially once I got into investigative journalism, you want to have that
Gravitas.
Yeah, the look, the feel, the confidence of being an established, trustworthy journalist. And I didn't have it because I looked so young. And I remember thinking, there will never be a day that I look old. There will never be a time when I look old enough to be in this business and to be respected. Well, guess what? I look old now. I mean,
it was probably all those sleepless journalism nights.
It's hilarious to me thinking back on that time of my life and just wishing I could look older and fit that role. And now here I am with a million wrinkles on my face, feeling very old and I don't know that I look any more respectable, but I certainly look older.
I think you look
look like I've been doing this for a while now.
I think you look very well respected. Just a final note. So this article just talks about where do we go from here for these companies. So companies, I think some companies, although it's funny, just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen some of these bigger companies calling people back to work, sort of dialing back some of the progress we've made. But anyway, this article says companies rethinking metrics, coming up with more flexible schedules. Some people are experimenting with 4-day work weeks. And the mantra sort of is, and I love this, work smarter, not harder. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
I have a mum's the word for us. This is something that we think might help in your life, in your motherhood or
journey,
working mom
or
journey.
your lady journey,
or wherever
your journey
you are.
as a woman,
wherever you
or
are
a man,
in your journey,
your journey as a person,
your life journey. Now it's going to be really funny what my mom's is.
Oh boy.
Listen.
This
is a Christmas present.
Okay.
If you're a longtime listener of AnchorMoms, you know usually Katie has these amazing beauty products and things for moms.
I'm flipping my hair right now as you say that.
And usually I have some toy or activity or something that entertains my children for longer than an hour. This one's for us, and it brings me so much joy.
Okay.
I got it for Christmas. I absolutely love it. I use it daily. You might laugh when I tell you what it is.
Okay. I'm on pins and needles.
Glass food storage containers.
Oh, yes. Good.
Why did it take me so long?
This is kind of I'll let you do your mom's, and then I'll tell you. There's some drama in our house about food containers. Is there a better way to say it?
I don't know, because you can't really call it Tupperware.
Because it's not the brand, but that's what that's what you're referring to. Yeah,
it is. We visited my sister-in-law who had a really nice set of different sized glass containers that she was able to take her lunch to work. All of the different sizes. And I thought, oh man, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
And so I asked Gregory for that for Christmas. He got it for me, I think almost as a joke, and said, even on the tag, like on the Christmas label, sorry, this is very boring. Hope you really wanted this. And I opened it up and was like, yes, I did want this. Every single time I get it out and put leftovers in it, I tell him, thank you for this wonderful gift.
And why do you love it so much?
I love it. I think, first of all, it just feels nicer. I feel like I'm a real adult now. I don't know. It's taken me to the next level of my leftover situation at work. Of course, you don't have to switch containers when you reheat it, which is huge. That's true. I like all the different sizes. I feel like we basically have a small, medium, and large Tupperware selection. This has lots of in-betweens. In fact, I was so excited about it. I was heating up my lunch at work the other day, and a coworker who's a young reporter in his 20s saw me and was like, wow, you look really happy. And I was like, I am. I have this new glassware that I got for Christmas that I'm heating up my lunch in. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're happy about
I don't want to be you. He was like, I need to get out of here. I don't want to be you. I don't want to be you.
It was so funny. He just died laughing. And I said, you know what? There's going to be a day when you are in your 40s, married with children.
You no longer believe in hustle culture. And
you don't believe in hustle culture. And you have the glass food storage containers. And I said, text me that day and tell me the joy you are feeling, because it will be the same as the level I am feeling today.
Okay.
I love it.
Good. I do love them too. We have some oldie plastic ones, but Brian is very firm that we shall only use the glass because he's worried about for health purposes. Right.
I mean, that's another concern. Yes.
He is very adamant. Like if you accidentally use one of the plastic ones, he's like, no. What are you doing?
Well, should you just throw them away?
We should. We just have a bunch of them. And like, I hate to say this, I like to use those when you're going places and when you're taking, I don't mind if other people get infected by the plastic.
When you're sharing your food with others, you'll poison them? Okay.
It's really just my family that I'm worried about. But yeah, we just have so many of them. I just
remind me never to eat your leftovers.
Right. Okay. Right. I just don't want to throw them in the landfill. But yeah, we transitioned to glass a couple of years ago, and it's really Brian who is, I like them. I like them for the purpose of reheating as well, but he's very passionate about glass. And I think he's right, by the way. I think both of you, I think it is very smart to transition to glass food storage.
Again, if you told me in my 20s how excited I would be about this, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. And one of the biggest joys in my life is the glass.
Do you have a specific brand, as I'm going to put these in the show notes?
Yes, we will put this in the show notes. I mean, I don't think this is what my husband bought me for Christmas. So I don't know.
But we know Greg has great taste. So I'm sure this is it. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally called glass food storage. But it's an 18-piece set for $35.
Okay. Is that on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yep. Easy peasy. I think the sizes are great. I don't know.
All right, let's move on before people tune us out. Before people say, because we're talking about glass food storage. So let's wrap this up, okay?
You know you're old when you get very excited about glass food storage. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. The next article is from parents.com. This is a survey predicting what life is going to be like for Generation Beta. If you don't know, I did not know. Generation Beta is people who were born, kids who were born between 2025, so this year, and 2039.
Ooh, 2039 seems a very long way to me.
Also, is it always that 14-year? Do they always come in 14-year blocks? Who are the generation dividers, I wonder? Who are the people who are naming and
I guess it's like 2025 is like the start of a new
quarter century?
I guess.
Anyway, all of that aside, this study looks at what life will be like for your children, if you're having a children this year or later.
If you're having a children.
If you're having a child. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So 86% of people believe that Gen Beta will hold jobs that haven't been invented yet.
Of course.
How mind-boggling is that?
Of course.
That doesn't leave much room for a TV news journalist.
Well, why?
Well, that's only 14%. That's a job that's already been invented.
I
mean, 86%. I could see maybe 10% have a job that's not been invented yet. 86%, that's almost everybody, has a job that's not been invented yet.
I thought they were saying 86% of people believe. Yeah, so 86% of people surveyed believe Gen Beta will hold jobs that haven't been invented yet. Okay. So I think that's what,
Katie.
I do believe that is what they're saying.
Okay. Now I'm understanding better.
Back a little bit. Okay.
60% of people believe the government will stop printing cash because Gen Beta won't use cash.
I believe this.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
59% think AI will be able to predict and prevent health issues before symptoms even appear.
Wouldn't that be great?
That's fantastic. Prospective Gen Beta parents predict that AI will replace teachers. That one makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly wonder because people are saying now that, and now that I say this, I mean, this will for sure happen to me, maybe next week. They're going to replace news anchors with like AI anchors.
Yeah, I think they will. Mm-hmm. We should start looking for a new job, perhaps.
When maybe one of these jobs that don't exist yet. But I don't know. I don't worry so much about it because I think people want like human connection no matter what.
Well, that's what this article kind of gets into is like these are all interesting things to predict. But so what's going to happen? What is technology really going to take over everything in life? And what are the new jobs going to be?
I like how this is the crazy part to me. This article says you better start planning for your like forget about college.
Yes.
Start planning for your kids'
retirement.
Kids, not your retirement, your kids' retirement, because they're never going to have enough money to be able to retire.
Fascinating.
Horrible.
Yeah. Also, 46% of people say space will be the most popular vacation destination.
Okay. Remember how people thought there was going to be flying cars too? I don't know.
I don't know. I do think space travel will happen. Can I just say, I'd much rather go to the beach.
Than space? Than like the moon?
Mm-hmm. We were doing an outer space puzzle last night.
As part of your remote learning? Your virtual day?
And the kids were talking about which planet is their favorite and, wanting to go.
I like Mars.
Yeah, well, that's one that we've already been to, right? But, astronauts.
Oh, I was like...
Not me personally.
Did you guys go there last summer or what?
Well,
okay.
It's funny because Sam said, yeah, I've been there. I went there with Daddy. And I was like, well, did you? I don't know that you have. But they were just all talking about which planets they'd like to visit someday. And it made me think, is this an actual conversation that they'll be like in 20 years? Are they going to be like, oh, yeah, remember when we were plotting out which planets we're going to visit? Here we are now. You guys want to go to Mars or...
Karen's going to be like, I want to go to Myrtle Beach.
And I'm like, no, I'd rather go back to the beach, please. Keep me on Earth. It's just, to your point, right? Hoverboards, all of those things that people said back in the day that we'd be dealing with.
I think hoverboards do exist.
They do.
But people don't use them on the reg.
We're not in the Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is interesting to think about what of these will actually happen and which won't.
One of the things I liked about this article is it talks about as like your kids are coming up, not to be afraid of new technology, be aware of the dangers that exist, but don't completely reject it because it's just like the wave of the future. You know,
kind of like how we refuse to get on TikTok.
Well, I mean, as we're recording this, we'll see when this drops, this will be a different story. I don't even know if TikTok's going to exist next week. So
maybe that was like a good call by us.
I'll get back to you on that one. But no, I mean, I just think about how people at first were weird about the internet. They were weird about social media, Facebook. I remember when I joined Facebook, I was like, what is this newfangled thing? I think, and now it's a huge part of our daily life.
It all works out one way or the other, and we adapt, right, as a society, and we still have wonderful human connections. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Our third article comes from CNBC, and it is titled, None of This is Earth-Shattering to Me, 5 Lifestyle Habits That Can Help You Live to 100, according to leading longevity researchers. I thought mostly of you. Because as you know, I have no interest in living to 100, but you have said.
I do want to live to 100. I would love to live to 100.
Are you taking notes?
Yes. Although I will say, well, go ahead and go through
you're going to say you're nailing all of these or what?
I'm there.
You're nailing them.
I think it looks like I'm going to be living to like 110 if we go by this list.
None of this is breaking news.
No.
None of it. Not a single one. You're going to be really disappointed, but I think it's worth hearing again.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
You're going to be disappointed because you already know all of these things.
I kept waiting for one that I was like, I'm
still waiting for I drank a glass of wine every day. I ate
a piece of chocolate.
Yep. Yeah, that's not on here.
No.
5 lifestyle habits that will help you live to 100, Karen. Eat a healthy diet. Diet is by far the most important factor for longevity, says some guy who studied it for about 20 years. Number 2 is move your body. Some longevity experts recommend daily exercise. Others recommend daily movement through low-intensity physical activity. Number 3 is believe in something. So whether that's go to church,
Whatever it is you believe
Whatever
in.
you believe in. If you have a faith or a life philosophy, I thought this was interesting. People who go to church, temple, or a mosque live somewhere between 4 and 14 years longer than people who have no religion. Interesting. Number 4, maintain positive relationships. Number 5, prioritize your purpose and lifelong learning. That was the only one that I was like, okay, how do you, like, I think it's a, like, what are the steps in which you take to prioritize your purpose and lifelong learning?
Well, I think that's more directed for when you get older. When you're in your 70s and 80s, I think the people that live longer are the people that,
like, you're taking a gardening class, a power tool class.
You know, there's lots of
shouldn't we still be doing that in our 40s?
Well, but there's lots of lifelong learning opportunities. I think I didn't know this, but there's lots of places where older folks can take classes and learn new things. And I think that helps.
Okay. You're making this sound like this is like more tactical than I thought it would be. Like, I didn't know if this was like more of like a philosophical, like
intrinsic look inside.
Right.
Yeah,
like you're prioritizing your purpose. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
I think, you know, if you hit 70 and you retire and you just sit in front of the TV all day and you don't have anything to do.
That's exactly what, I mean, what else?
That's what your goal is?
What I'm like,
well, then you're not going to make it past 70.
I'm going to finally catch up on all those Hulu shows that like nobody, that I never can watch because I go to bed at 7 o'clock.
What do you think the Hulu is going to be? And
I don't know. You're right.
30 years.
You're right. So.
Anyway, yes, to your point, I think most of these are obvious. I will say I would not have thought number 3, believing in something. I mean, I totally agree personally, but I wouldn't have thought of that as something on the list necessarily. Yeah. But I like that helps you live longer. Funny that it mentions the Mediterranean diet because guess whose family just switched to an all Mediterranean diet?
That's you guys. Really?
Yes.
That's breaking news to me.
So here we are.
How is that going?
Actually fine.
Can you eat cheese?
Less cheese, yeah.
Like, that's the thing is like, we like cheese.
I know.
I feel like we're good. We eat a lot of fish, obviously, because I don't eat meat. But yeah, like that's the one thing is I gotta have some cheese.
Yeah. We don't eat a lot of cheese anymore. But
what are you eating? Like nuts and pasta?
No pasta.
No pasta?
Well, I think you can eat some pasta.
Isn't that what Mediterraneans eat?
We're kind of mixing it up a bit. But anyway,
okay.
The Mediterranean diet is something that we're looking at.
Okay.
You know, a lot of beans, nuts, whole grains, more vegetables, more fruit, which just makes sense in general,
yeah,
right?
it does.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. None of this is like, you're not going to be floored. If you're listening to this in your car right now, you're not like hitting the brakes.
Wow. I don't know. The amazingness of our conversation might stop you in your tracks.
You might be thinking about that glassware, the glass.
Wait a minute. The glass. Let me pull over right now and order this glass Tupperware set.
Right. Okay.
It's been recommended by AnchorMoms. Okay. Do you have a win that does not have to do with something that makes us feel old?
I do. So the most glorious thing happened to me last weekend, and that's that it snowed. And every single plan that I had for the weekend got canceled.
Yes.
And we
were going to take a trip.
We were going to take a trip, which, you know, we postponed. Like, we just moved to a different weekend so that I wasn't that sad about it.
Right.
River was sad about it, but I was not that sad about it. So that got canceled. River's basketball practice got canceled. A birthday party got canceled. And when
it snows 3 inches in Asheville, everything is done.
I don't even think it snowed 3 inches. I think
maybe
it was like 2.
Regardless, everything closed.
Let me just tell you, nobody in my house showered all weekend long.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yep. Like, it was glorious. We played in the snow. We went to a friend's house, had a couple drinks. I went down the hill one time on a sled, and it was like terrifying. And it was just a beautiful weekend that will never happen again, knock on wood, because I don't want any more snow to cancel my kids' school. But yeah, it was I just loved it.
Great. I feel like you are much more positive about it than I was at the beginning of this episode.
Because because I think you're more of an extrovert, and I really just I don't ever want to have to talk to anybody ever, and I don't ever want to have to socialize. And the fact that there was a reason for me not to, like there was a good excuse, it was wonderful.
I think it was less of that for me and more of just trying to find things to entertain my children for 4
but
straight
there was
days.
snow. You're just like, just go.
Yeah, they didn't play in it very much.
Really?
Mm-mm. Friday.
Well, I
We
brought
did.
River over to your
Yeah,
house.
they did it Friday with River. They played and they made their snowman. They kind of like did it all that day. And then even Saturday there, I was like, okay, the snow's here. Let's go sledding.
And they were like,
We went out for maybe an hour. It was very cold.
It was
and they
very
were like,
cold.
we're done. We'll just sit inside. But
Yeah.
then they start arguing and,
I see.
Yeah. wanting the same toy. And
Right.
it just got real tricky. But yes, I'm glad it was a nice, there were parts of it that were nice, right?
I hope so. It doesn't sound like it was much of a win for you in the Zakalak household.
We didn't have to wake up early, so that was
That's
nice. Yeah, snow is always fun. We had some lovely fires.
Mm-hmm.
We had some lovely musical entertainment by our
Mhm.
children.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't want any more snow.
No, me neither. I mean, I don't like that was it. I'm good.
We're done. We're done.
We're done.
Done with
We're
this
also done with this podcast.
We are not forever, but for this week.
Yeah, not forever.
We'll
Just
see
for
you
this
next week.
Bye, guys. Anchor Moms is a Sinclair podcast produced out of WLOS in Asheville. We're your hosts, Katie Killen and Karen Zakalak. Anchor Moms is edited by Matthew Yates.
For more information on the topics discussed in this episode and to stay up to date on future episodes, follow us on Instagram at AnchorMoms.
You can follow Anchor Moms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Know a parent who could benefit from this week's Anchor Moms episode? Your recommendations help our show to grow, so spread the word.